from a man's perspective, what makes one woman, like in your case, what made your wife Tiffany stand out, or what were some of the things that you did appreciate and have appreciated about her that made you choose her in terms of your long-term partner for a relationship?
The first thing I would encourage women about, though, is the man has to be in a season that he's looking for something, right? You can be the perfect woman in a bad season, and it doesn't matter if he's not aligned to commitment or marriage or a long-term relationship. If that's not where he is, you can't make him become that person, right? Now, he can get his act together because he realized the risk isn't worth the reward. The risk of losing you isn't worth it. He can do that, but you're not going to make him be ready. So I want to preface it by that, because women walk around blaming themselves about things when realistically it's not them, it's him. Let's just be honest. Now, when a man meets a woman, I can talk about myself personally, there were a few things that were really I'm sold on, right? Number one was attractiveness. All right, let's just be honest. That's
right. The physical attraction. That's there. That's important.
That's an important part of the puzzle. And a physically attractive woman that takes care of herself, she feels better about herself. So she gives off, my second point, she gives off a certain aura, right? So there's this aura that my wife had that was highly confident, but it wasn't just because of physical attractiveness, because she had intelligence and she had swagger, she had confidence. Right? I saw her having these, she walked in rooms and they lit up, right? It wasn't because she was arrogant, it's because she had good energy. And a woman that walks around with good energy will attract men a lot of the time. If you ever go out in a space with a bunch of women, you can always tell the ones that have bad energy and the ones that don't. A lot of times the women that are having conversations with men a lot in spaces, it's because of their energy. It's not necessarily because they're a 10 on the scale, right? You might see a 7 or a 6, but everybody's talking to her. It's because of the energy she gives off. So that's number 2, really good energy. Number 3, I was looking for attributes of a wife, right? In the future, like, okay, is she nurturing? Is she kind? Can she hold her own with a friend group? Because if friends are really important to you, or if work is really important to you, could she fit into those spaces? And you can see that, you can collect data on those things as you date someone. How do they act in social settings? Are they awkward? Are they not? You know what I mean? Are they caring? Do they care about me? All those things we talked about in the first part of the conversation. Are they caring? That was important to me, right? And then also, was she reciprocal? Was she willing to invest as much as I was? Was I the one always leading everything, or did she add some value and she complimented me in certain ways? That was, to me, that's very attractive and that's very sexy, because it makes you feel the word we used earlier, which is genuine. Was there a genuine connection? And finally, the last thing was, could she be a good mother? Like, I watched, because I was in a season where I knew I wanted kids. Now, if you don't want kids, then that's different. But how someone handles their kids can tell you a lot about them, right? So that's another thing to be looking for. That's kind of how my journey went. Those are the things that I consider. So I don't want women to think like they have to be performative and do all these things. But the question is it who you are? If it's just who you are, then you don't have to fight hard for it. You know what I mean? You just have to be. And if you exist because you've developed yourself to be these things, then you'll be attractive.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you're saying this, because yes, the physical attraction piece is certainly important. And, like I said, I tend to work with women who are a little more mature. That's still important to them. And I think it's still important to men that are more mature, not just, when we're younger. And of course, one of the things that women are worried about is as they age, they may not feel as attractive. And so I love what you said about this energy that your wife, Tiffany, has, and that is going to be you're going to be an attractive person to a lot of people, no matter what your age in life. If you're seeking to take good care of yourself, because like you said, when a woman takes good care of herself, she feels better about herself. So that's part of that energy. And then B, if you have that energy that is inviting, that is warm, you talked about kindness, you talked about her being there for you, with you, the reciprocity, One of the things that I talk to the women about a lot is because a lot of the women that I work with have been very focused in careers for the vast majority of their life. So they can kind of have a bit of a masculine type approach to life and energy. Some out of necessity because they've never really had any other option or anyone else to really rely on. And some kind of, that's just become like the habit or the pattern based on their lives. So one of the things I talk to them about is just warming up their interactions with men, with people in general. And I think this warmth is really appealing. So, for example, I work with a lot of women that live in New York City, where it can kind of feel like survival of the fittest in this in the city. It's fast paced, and everybody trying to get ahead, and a lot of pushing and shoving to kind of just get down the street and that kind of thing. And so one of the things that I share with women, and I think this kind of goes along with this energy piece, is before they send a message, whether it be online or before they go on a date or before they talk to a man or answer a man, consider, I say, run it through the warmth meter. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be overly emotional or overly gushy or anything like that, but like warm it up a little bit. The tone of voice, maybe your facial expressions, maybe slowing down a little bit instead of just being so brisk and so quick and so to the point, like just warming things up a little bit. So do you feel like that's I'm on track with this as far as this energy piece goes? Is that a big part of it?
Oh, you are 100% right? A lot of times what I hear from men when they finally get into a relationship, right, with a woman, what they say is, I just loved her energy. And what that looks like is what you're talking about. For example, men don't want to be talked to like they go into the HR office or like their mom is talking to them, right? That becomes very unattractive really fast. But for a lot of women that have been in corporate for a long time, that's the lingo they've learned in a masculine space. So I get it. But that warmth meter you're talking about, that is a huge separator, right? To a man. Hugely important. Because if I can get a woman to say, hi, handsome, right? Versus to whom it may concern, you know what I mean? It's just different. The energy is different. It makes me feel like connected. You know what I mean? Like she actually sees me versus she's just trying to get me to perform for her. Right? So yes, what you're saying is that warmth meter, that's how women who may not be, tens, like I said, on the scale, a lot of times men end up with those women because they make them feel good about themselves, right? In their energy. So instead of trying to compete on the physical scale with the 10, well, you should try to compete, just try to look good and take care of yourself. But understand there's small little things that, men aren't as shallow as I think women think we are. Not men who are like just normal men. They're not as shallow as we think. To be talked to in a calm voice with calm and nice warm words is like a gift. It's a gift. That's why we love, like, you ever like see men with daughters and their daughters aren't like jaded in any way, and they come in there, they're super soft with their dads. Especially when they're young. I had this from my daughter. It's just like, hey, daddy, I love you. Or they come lay on you. It's like, hey, hi, daddy, you look handsome today. Things like that. Oh, it never goes away.
Melt your heart. Yeah. Yeah, in fact, I'm glad you mentioned this too, because this is something else that stood out from what we talked about a little bit earlier, was the importance and the rarity, sadly, in many cases, of compliments from men. So I've had men say that they feel like they've received so few compliments in their lives that they might still remember a compliment they got from like 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, man, that's like painful, right? No, not that he remembers it from 20 years ago, because, wow, wonderful he has that memory, but that it's so rare that that's like the last big compliment he can remember.
Most of our compliments only come from producing things. I got a raise at work. Oh, good job, honey. Right? Oh, I won the championship. Oh, great. You're awesome. But normal things that men do, there's not like a compliment system for that.
Wow. So what would be some of the kinds of things that women could notice and potentially compliment a man on besides above and beyond outside of these producing or performative types of things, like the work or the money that he's bringing in or the
Mm-hmm.
not that he shouldn't be appreciated for that, but it sounds like we got to expand out. We got to think more about what we really value and appreciate in a man and maybe let him know a little more about it.
Oh, let me tell you, if women knew how simple it was, they would do more of it. As simple as, oh, you smell wonderful. What are you wearing? Right? Or, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I love that fresh haircut. That looks good.
Mm,
That looks good on you. Oh, I love how your outfit fits today. Did you get it tailored? Right?
mm-hmm.
Or your shoes look really, really new and shiny. Like, did you do something to them? They're simple things. Oh, I see you look well groomed. Like if a man is well groomed, tell him about it. Like the things we do to try to impress women, right? Somebody, you think he's spraying on cologne for men? He
Right.
he wants to walk past a woman and have her say, "Oh, you smell amazing."
Right.
You see, that's what he wants to happen. So,
Right.
so it's those small things. It's not like you got to go and like I would tell women, just like you look up anything else, research. What are great compliments to give men?
Mm-hmm.
I bet you a million ideas come up, right? Because
Yeah.
when we hear them, it almost always makes us smile because we don't hear them often. Like a lot of women get turned off by compliments because they hear them so much, right? They like come with something else, right? Just tell me something else other than I look good, right? We're like, please tell me I look good today. Please, somebody. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. So noticing him and noticing not just what he does, but like who he is. I think men like to be acknowledged for their knowledge, or if they have an expertise in a certain area, or they give a valuable insight or piece of advice,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. One of the things that I tell the women to do when I'm coaching is I say, go out there and catch men in the act of doing good.
Perfect.
Like,
Perfect.
I mean, like notice the young guy in the grocery store that's helping an older lady get something off the high shelf.
Mm-hmm.
Notice the guy who's out with his lady and is treating her so kindly and is speaking to her so kindly. Notice the guy that's like helping someone across the street shovel all the snow out of their driveway.
Mm-hmm.
Like just catch men in the act of doing good. Because I feel like when women are able to do this, when they're able to like approach things from that point of view, they start noticing men in a different way, which helps if they've had negative experiences or disappointing experiences with men, can help shift that perception of men in general. But it also can give a whole lot of ways that we as women, can be in the mode of noticing things to compliment or appreciate men for.
No,
And
it's great.
like I mean, I've just said like I've tried to do some of this in my life, and it's just amazing. Like just the smallest things that I compliment someone on, how it makes their day. Just a guy stocking the shelves in the grocery store. I was saying, this is looking so neat. You're doing such a good job here. He's like, but like you, like the smile, like it lights him up, right?
Look, let me tell you, it's I think a question that a lot of ladies have to ask themselves is why is it so easy to criticize a man, but so hard to find things to compliment?
Ooh.
Like, because that can become an internal issue that you might not be aware of. That's a whole other conversation, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I find that it's fair. Men grow up being criticized for almost everything they do because they are seen as the people that can take it, right? So we're always being coached. We're always being criticized. We're always being told to do something better or different or whatever. So we grew up our whole lives just learning that. So that's why the value we place on someone that values something we do is so high, right? Or that's why we value a compliment that high. That's why we value acknowledgement that high or appreciation that high because we don't get a ton of it. The things that we do right from a man's perspective are things that we're supposed to do, right? That's why it's high value. So if you're in a dating situation or in a marriage or whatever it is, if you catch men doing right things, they will love you for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is so fun, Troy. I feel like I could talk to you all day. We'll definitely have to do this again
Absolutely.
in the future, because I feel like we've touched on some really important things today, and I love talking to you and love tapping into your wisdom and bouncing these topics off of you. And so I want to give you a chance, though, and we're going to put Troy's full bio and some more information about Troy in the description here. And Troy, I know you have a book that you've written. I want to give you a chance to share a little bit about that, a little bit about what it's about, and then we'll have the link to the book also in the bio, and anything else that you want to add is kind of like final words too here to top this off.
I'll try to keep it very short and sweet, right? My book is called Teach Me How to Love Why What You Don't Know Will Hurt You, right? So emphasis on why what you don't know will hurt you. And I wrote that book because I went through life understanding, talking to thousands of clients and people I know and all these anecdotal type stories, understanding that we don't have a recipe. We don't have a really good recipe. What we're really left with is what we saw, right? But there's not a lot of teaching of the skills and how to survive seasons and all these things. So I kind of take you on a journey of things I learned, but also things I've learned from other people and scenarios that they've been through and how to love someone better, right? The things that and it's not a hard book. It's like 100-page book, right? But it will challenge you. I tell people it's not a how-to book. It's a self-reflection book is what it really is. Because you exit that book realizing, I got some more work I got to do. But I also have some tips on how to get better in these areas. So I would encourage anyone, I don't care what age, right? Whether you're young or whether that's why I wrote it the way I wrote it, was that it could span across age ranges. No matter who you are, you can benefit from the book. And if you go read the reviews, I always tell people, just go to Amazon and look up my name, Troy Spry, or look up the title of the book and look at the reviews, right? You still got 5-star reviews and you got comments and people can tell you what they've gotten and taken away from the book. So that's the first thing I will encourage people to go do is just go get the book. That'll introduce you to who I am as a person and how I write and communicate. The second thing is I started my podcast with a friend of mine, which is called TNTUnleashed Podcast. And that's an important part of my life now because I pivoted from just being in a relationship space to talking about other things and showing there's a range of things that I can connect on and talk on. It's a little more, it's not as PG-13 as maybe my book stuff is, but it's a little more real, raw, authentic. But the tagline for it is, this is where authenticity lives and where ego dies. So we talk about life, love, relationships, and everything in between. So that's the tagline for it. So that gives you an idea of what it could be about. So I would tell people to go follow us on Instagram at TNTUnleashed Podcast, and then start listening to us on YouTube. We have some videos. We're starting to do more video on YouTube. So we're kind of getting it going like your channel. We're starting to grow it a little bit. And I would love people to go subscribe to TNTUnleashed Podcast as well.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. So Troy, what's one or two things you just kind of want to leave us with? A few things you want to just emphasize again from our conversation, or any last thoughts you want to leave us with for today from the things we've talked about?
Yeah. So I think the first thing I would say is that reciprocity is rewarding, right? So reciprocity, if we just lead with that in our dating situations, in our relationships, in our marriages, that is how we feel connected and genuine, that people are genuine about us. So start with reciprocity. The second thing is going to be a little bit of a surprise to you because we didn't talk about it a lot here, but start with you, right? I think we all want the answers to the test of dating and the answers to the test of relationship, but none of that matters if you don't have the answers to yourself, right? So that's what I would encourage people to do. If you don't have the answers to yourself, why you are who you are, if you haven't done any self-reflection, if you don't understand where your stuff comes from, that might be the reason why you're having problems in dating and relationships. So start with you.
Love that. Love that. Yeah, so important. And yeah, we could have definitely a whole conversation on that one. That's a big one. That's a big one, because if you don't know who you are, what you want, what you're all about, if you haven't done, whatever work you might need to do to kind of clear some of the things from the past or things that might be holding you back from being open and available to a relationship. Those things are going to show up and they're going to potentially get in the way of you having the kind of relationship you desire, for sure.
Let me tell you,
And
Michelle, this is my last sentence, and I'll let you close this out. But I've done a lot of work over the last few years inside, right, internal work, and I always say I started finding better intimacy when I started looking more into me, and that has changed my relationship for the better. So I really want to encourage people, like, hear that. Start with yourself, please.
Well, I really don't want to say anything after that, because that's like a truth bomb right there. That's like a, okay, writer downer right there, right? I love that.